Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is my pleasure to welcome you to Temple Emeth and to our Shabbat Morning Service. I welcome you here to the Rabbi Louis J. Siegel Sanctuary in Teaneck, New Jersey. If you're joining us on live stream this morning, Shabbat Shalom to you. I'm so glad you were able to log in. The Siddur that we use in our service is Mishkan Tefillah. So if you have a copy of Mishkan Tefillah nearby, now is the time to get it so you have it in hand. And you'll be able to follow along with each and every song and prayer and page number of our service this morning. Also, if you're watching on live stream, I hope you'll take a moment right now to post something in the chat or comment section of the live stream platform. It can be your name, your location, or Shabbat Shalom. But by posting any of these things, others will see that you are there, and this way we form bonds of virtual community together. And Shabbat Shalom to everyone here in the sanctuary. You know where to find your copy of Mishkan Tefillah. So now's a good time to have it ready for our opening song. It is my pleasure to welcome back to Temple Emeth, Rabbi Rebecca Einstein-Shore, who will serve as our cantorial soloist this morning. And later, at the end of our service, we will welcome to the Bima Temple member Florette Koffler, who has prepared a lecture presentation for us called Longing for Sfarad, Why the Jews of Spain Matter. So we're looking forward to that later this morning. At this time, as we begin our service, I invite you to turn in Mishkan Tefillah to page 192. Page 192, which is where we find our opening song. We join together at this time in singing Matovu.
Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani berov chastecha avovetecha eshtachave el hechal kodshecha be'yiratecha. Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Adonai ahavti me'on beitecha u'mikom mishkan kivodecha. Va'ani ashtachave ve'echra'a evrecha lifnei Adonai osi. Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim berov chastecha aneni bemet yishecha. Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Mishkenotecha Yisrael.
We turn now to page 194, which is where we find the first of two blessings that thank God for our existence. The first is the blessing thanking God for the body. It is then followed by the blessing that thanks God for the soul. We join together in English on page 194. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed, it would be impossible to endure and stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar, umafli la'asot. We turn the page now and read together. My God, the soul you have given me is pure. You created it, you shaped it, you breathed it into me, and you protect it within me. For as long as my soul is within me, I offer thanks to you, Adonai, my God and God of my ancestors, source of all creation, sovereign of all souls. Praised are you, Adonai, in whose hand is every living soul and the breath of humankind. Baruch atah Adonai, asher biado nefesh kol chai, beruach kol basar ish.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'sechvi vina, lavchin ben yom uvein laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kifufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokar etzal hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechid mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish abrumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten liya'ef koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir sheina me'enai, utnuma me'apapai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tselem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifara.
We turn at this time to page 204 and we join together in the blessing for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. O Adonai, our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel, may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamilamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Having offered the blessing for the study of Torah, we turn now to page 206, where we find an excerpt of Torah, oral Torah from the Talmud, that we recite now in fulfillment of the blessing. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. We turn at this time to page 215, which is where we find Ashrei, an acrostic psalm that we chant responsibly at this time. Ashrei yoshvei beitecha od yehalelucha selah.
Ashrei ha'am shekhacha lo, Ashrei ha'am sh'Adonai Elohai.
Tehila leDavid aromimcha Elohai hamelech, v'avarcha shimcha leolam va'ed.
B'chol yam avarcheka, v'hala shimcha leolam va'ed.
Gadol Adonai umehulal me'od, v'li gdulato ein cheker.
Dor ledor yishabach ma'asecha, u'gvuratecha yagidu.
Hadar kavod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha.
Ve'zuz nortecha yomeru, u'gdulatcha saprena.
Zecher rav tuvcha yabi'u, v'tzidkatcha yiranenu.
Chanun v'rachum Adonai, erech apayim ugdol chesed.
Tov Adonai lakol, v'rachamav al kol ma'asav.
Yoducha Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yivarchucha.
Kivod malchutcha yomeru, ugratecha yidaberu.
Lehodia livnei hadam ugvurotav, uchvod hadar malchuto.
Malchutcha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'ador.
Somech Adonai lechol hanoflim, v'zokef lechol hakfufim.
Einei chol elecha yisaberu, v'atanoten lehem et ochlam be'ito.
Hoteach et yadecha, umasbiach lechol chai ratzon.
Tzadik Adonai b'chol derachav, v'chasid b'chol ma'asav.
Kabrov Adonai lechol korav, lechol asher yikrehu ve'emet.
Ritzon yereav ya'aseh, v'et shavatam yishma v'yoshi'em.
Shomer Adonai et kol ahavav, et kol harashim yashmid.
Tilat Adonai daber pi, v'varech kol basar shem kodsho le'olam va'en.
V'anachnu nevarech Yah, me'ata ve'ad olam, hallelujah.
We turn now to page 223. Yishtabach shimcha la'ad malkeinu. You shall always be praised, great and holy God, our sovereign in heaven and on earth. Songs of praise and psalms of adoration become you, acknowledging your might and your dominion. Yours are strength and sovereignty, sanctity, grandeur, and glory always. We offer our devotion, open our hearts in acclamation. Baruch atah Adonai, El Melech Gadol Batishbachot, El HaHodaot Adon Haniflaot, Habocher B'Shirei Zimra, Melech El Chei HaOlamim. Praised are you, sovereign of wonders, crowned in adoration, delighting in song, eternal majesty.
Yitkada v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'alma divrach yirutei, v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chayetecho beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uv'izman kariv, v'meru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam olam mehamaya. Yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei tekudshah b'richu, le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma, v'meru, amen.
Please rise if you are able for the Baruch Hu. The Baruch Hu is found in the Siddur on page 226.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamivorach. Baruch Adonai hamivorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Hameir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim, uvtuvo mechadesh bechol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam bechochma asita, mal'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, ve'al me'orei or she'asita yefa'arucha sela. Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir, v'nizkechu lanu mehera le'oro. Baruch ata Adonai yotzer ha'me'orot. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said, and light-blinded we saw that inner and outer worlds are one as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us. As we climbed, fell back, and climbed again, you are Sinai of life. Baruch ata Adonai habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha Lima'an tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'Elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eret Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Elohechem Emet. We turn now to page 239. Emet, there is no place where you are not, even in the wilderness there is your word. Emet, that pen strokes of lightning, light fire, black flame, stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way, true and enduring is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established, now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice.
No ratihi lodo sefele, no ratihi lodo sefele. Shirachad shashib chugehulim, lishim chasvat hayam, yachad kulam hodu, v'himlichu v'amru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai, yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai, yai lai la lai la lai la 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai la lai. Tzor Yisrael, kuma bezrat Yisrael, ufdechinu mecha, Yehuda v'Yisrael, go haleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
We turn to page 242 in Mishkan Tefillah. On that page, we find the beginning of the Tefillah. Please rise if you are able for the Tefillah.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lima'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah, Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Mi Chamocha Ba'al Gevurot, U'Mido Melach, Melech Memit U'Mechayeh, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, V'Ne'eman atah L'Chayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Nikatesh et shimcha ba'olam, kishem shemakti shimo tobish memarom, kakatuva yad neviecha, v'karazel zeve'amar, kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzivaot, Melocho haaretz, kivodo, Adir Adirenu, Adonai Adonenu, Mahadir Shimcha b'chol haaretz, Baruch kivod Adonai mimkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu, vehu Yashmienu, birachamav leinei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai yiktzion, ledor vador, hallelujah. Ledor vador nagid godlecha, Ulenetzach nitzachim kiddushatcha nakdish, v'shivchecha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. We turn now to page 250 in the Siddur, and we look to the top of the page to honor Shabbat. We join together in singing Yismechu.
Yismechu v'malchutcha shomrei shomrei Shabbat shomrei shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat mikadshei shivi kulam yisbeu v'yitangu mituvacha mikadshei shivi kulam yisbeu v'yitangu mituvacha yismechu v'malchutcha shomrei shomrei Shabbat shomrei shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat v'hashvi ratzitavo v'kidashto chemdat yamim oto karata zecher lema'aseh v'reishit yismechu v'malchutcha shomrei shomrei Shabbat shomrei shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat.
On page 256, we find a prayer of Hoda'ah, a prayer of gratitude to God, which we offer in English at this time. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. As we turn the page, we look now to page 259, and in the middle of the page we join together in offering a prayer for peace. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of our world. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael, ba'shalom. We take a moment now for Tfilat Halev, a moment to offer to God the prayers of our hearts. Inspirational readings are found on pages 260 and 261. The next part of our service is the Torah service, Seder Kriyat HaTorah, which is found in Mishkan Tefillah beginning on page 363. Happy is the one who finds wisdom, the one who gains understanding. For its value is greater than silver, its yield than fine gold. It is more precious than rubies, no treasure can match it. Lyle, you can come up too. Please rise for the Torah service.
שאו שערים ראשיכם ושאו פתחי עולם, פתחי עולם, ויבוא מלך, מלך הכבוד. מיהו זה מלך הכבוד? אדוני צבאות. הוא מלך הכבוד, Selah.
In this scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now. Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasure it.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadlul Adonai iti, Uneromim Shemo Yachdav. Lecha Adonai hagedula v'hagevura v'hatiferet v'haneitzach v'hahod ki chol v'shamayim u'va'aretz ki chol v'shamayim u'va'aretz Lecha Adonai הממלכה והמתנשא לכל ראש. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu.
Please be seated. This week's Torah portion is Parshat Bo, which we find in the book of Exodus. Parshat Bo is really the heart of the Exodus story, and in the section we'll hear chanted aloud this morning, we hear about the Passover ritual. The Passover ritual, of course, has evolved significantly between then and now to what we call the Passover Seder today, but the core of it is the same in the sense that it is a unique ritual done only in the season of Passover, done for the explicit purpose of remembering the Exodus, and there's even a quote in the Torah portion about that ritual, which we work into our ritual. And when your children ask you, what do you mean by this rite, you shall say, it is the Passover sacrifice of the Lord because he passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt when he smote the Egyptians but saved our houses. So that probably sounds familiar to you. So we have this core of a ritual, but of course it is more than just ritual. It is it's a statement about the importance of understanding history, and even proscriptively understanding that the moment we are living now is one that should be remembered in the future. And that's sort of a different approach to history than we usually take, which is that the moment that we're living in now should look back and appreciate the past. But both are aspects of Jewish historical study. And so we'll take a look at the Torah portion now, and then later in our service, we'll have an opportunity to hear sort of the more common approach to history, which is at this moment in the present, let us look back at the past, in this morning's case, at the past of the Jews of Sfarad, and appreciate how that history still impacts upon us today. Rabbi Shor will be chanting from Parashat Bo, beginning at Exodus chapter 12, verse 21, which you can find in the large blue Torah commentary books on page 460, chapter 12, verse 21 on page 460. And if you are watching on live stream and you've borrowed a copy of the revised Torah commentary, you can find this same section, Exodus chapter 12, verse 21, in the revised Torah commentary on page 412. And for the honor of the Aliyah, we call upon Cindy Simon. Okay, Cindy, hang on just a sec. Okay,
Baruch Hu et Adonai Havarach.
Baruch Adonai Havarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Havarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Vayikra Moshe lechol ziknei Yisrael vayomer alehem mishchu v'chachu lachem tzon lemishpechotechem v'shaktu ha'pasach v'lakachtem agudat azov utvaltem badam asher basaf v'yigatem el hamashkof el shetei mezuzot min hadam asher basaf ve'atem lo tatzu ish mipatach beito ad boker vavar Adonai lingof et Mitzrayim v'ra'a et hadam al hamashkov ve'al shetei hamezuzot ufasach Adonai al hapetach ve'lo yitain hamashchit lavo el betechem lingov ushmartem et davar hazeh lechok lecha ulvanecha ad al olam v'haya ki tavo el eretz asher yitain Adonai lachem koashar diber ushmartam et havodah hazot v'haya ki omru alechem b'nechem ma havodah hazot lachem v'amartem zevach pesach hu l'Adonai asher pasach al b'tei b'nei Yisrael b'Mitzrayim bin gofo et Mitzrayim ve'et beito hatzil vayikod ha'am vayishtachavu V'yelchu v'ya'asu b'nei Yisrael ka'asher tzivah Adonai et Moshe v'Aharon ken asu v'yehi b'chatzi halayla v'Adonai haka kol b'chor be'eretz Mitzrayim mivchor Paro hayoshev al kiso ad b'chor shvi asher b'bayit habor v'chol b'chor behema.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam b'tokenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
This time our thoughts turn to those in need of healing as we prepare to offer a Mishaberach for healing, which is found in Mishkan Tefillah on page 371. If you are thinking of someone in need of healing and you're watching on live stream, I invite you to enter the name of your loved one in the chat or comment section of the live stream platform. And here in the sanctuary, if you are thinking of someone in need of healing, I invite you to share their name out loud or in your heart at this time. This time, we think of all those who suffer because of natural disaster, terrorism, and war, those whose lives have been upended and who seek for healing and stability. We pray for those who lack access to medical care, as this is a key element to healing, and it is a human right along with food and shelter. We think of all those who suffer because of the plane crash over the Potomac this week. And we think as well of our temple members in need of healing and their loved ones. Their names will appear on your screen, either on live stream or in the corner of the sanctuary, as we turn at this time to page 371 and we join together in singing the Mishaberach.
Mishaberach avotenu mikor to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mikor bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
We continue now with the lifting and dressing of the Torah, which is found at the bottom of page 370. Please rise if you are able for Hagbah and Galila.
V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael pi Adon Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam Omed, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam Omed, Al HaTorah ve'al Ha'avodah ve'al Gemilut Chasadim, Al HaTorah ve'al Ha'avodah ve'al Gemilut Chasadim.
Please be seated. The Haftarah portion comes from the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah, for a prophet, had a lot of foreign policy opinions. And in this week's Haftarah portion, he, echoing what we read about in the Torah portion, he has nothing nice to say about Egypt, which is ironic because later in life he will be exiled to Egypt for all the not nice things he had to say about the authorities in Israel. But that's another story. So here, he is basically prophesying doom upon Egypt. But part of prophesying doom upon Egypt is making a clear distinction between Egypt and Israel, that Israel will be treated differently. Not that everything will always go great for Israel, but that in the end, God will love Israel, and in the end, any punishment upon Israel will be a punishment taken out of love and in measure, in proper proportion. And so I thought for our purposes today, we would fast forward past all of the bad stuff for Egypt and skip right to the good stuff for Israel. Won't that feel better? So we're not going to start at the beginning of the Haftarah. We're going to start at Jeremiah chapter 46, verse 25, which here in the sanctuary is on page 702 at the top of the page 702. And if you're watching on live stream with a copy of the Revised Torah Commentary in your hand, you can find Jeremiah chapter 46, verse 25 in the Revised Torah Commentary book on page 428. Page 428. And for the Haftarah, we call upon Lyle Breitkopf. So the blessing is here, and then the Haftarah is right there. Nice and loud.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar b'mirim tovim v'arson b'divrei b'neihem ba'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboker b'Torah asher Yisrael amo v'go bit ha'eretz va'edet.
Okay, so now we'll move the Siddur out of the way for you, and we are right here, the Lord.
The Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, has said, I will inflict punishment on Ammon of No and on Pharaoh, on Egypt, her gods and her king, O Pharaoh, and all who rely on him. I will deliver them into the hands of those who seek to kill them, into the hands of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, into the hands of his subjects, but afterward she shall be inhabited again as in former days, declares the Lord. But you have no fear, my servant Jacob. Be not dismayed, O Israel. I will deliver you from far away, your folk from their land of captivity, and Jacob again shall have calm and quiet with none trouble him. But you have no fear, my servant Jacob, declares the Lord. For I am with you. I will make an end of all the nations among which I have banished you, but I will not make an end of you. I will not leave you unpunished, but I will chastise you in measure.
Okay, that's it for the Haftarah. So now we are here. Baruch atah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, tzur kol ha'amim, tzadik v'kol ha'el ha'ne'emah, ha'memir v'ser hasdei ayom shechol derich emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah v'al ha'avodah v'al ha'neim v'al yom ha'zeh shani lech lanu Adonai Eloheinu lakadosh v'lenorah lavod v'tiferet al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach uvkakim uter yorech shemach b'fi kol hai hasdei le'yom v'ed baruch atah Adonai makesh haShabbat.
Amen.
Okay, you can stay right here. We're going to open the ark in just a second. Our service continues on page 374 as we prepare to return the Torah to the ark. Please rise. Great. We're going to step. Well, before we go to the ark, we'll just face the congregation for a second. Yahalalu et Shem Adonai ki niskav shemo levado.
Hodo l'eretz v'shamayim v'yaharem keren le'amo tehila lecho chasidav livnei Yisrael am kirovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al ta'azovu et chayim hi lemachazikim ba v'tomcheha me'ushar deracheha darcheinam v'chol netivoteha shalom hashivenu Adonai eilecha v'nashuva Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu, Chadesh Yameinu, Kikedem.
Please be seated. This week, 4 more hostages are scheduled to be released as part of the ceasefire agreement. As we work toward the total of 33 scheduled to be released over the course of the agreement, we are grateful for the diplomacy and the efforts that have enabled and will enable these hostages to return home to their families. But we understand that the work of working for and praying for the hostages is not over until each and every one of them is home in until with God's help they are brought from darkness to light. Our service continues on page 552 with the prayer for the state of Israel. As we think about the hostages, we think about those who wear the uniform and sacrifice in defense of the state, and we think of the people of Israel. We pray for their safety and for their democracy to thrive. We turn to page 552. Please rise if you are able for the prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu Shabashamayim, Sur Yisrael v'Goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael Reishit Smichat Geulatenu, Hagen Aleha be'evrat chastecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha v'Amitcha l'Rasheha Sarah v'Yoetzeha, V'takneim be'etzah tova milfanecha, V'natata Shalom ba'aretz, V'simchat olam liyoshveha, V'nomar. Amen. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. We remain standing as we turn to page 586. We look to the bottom of the page as our service continues with the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latit gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, vilo hasamanu kimishbechot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkenu kahem, vigoralenu kilcho hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, Lifnei Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yihya Adonai echad, u'shema Shemo Echad.
You may be seated. We turn in the Siddur to page 595, where we find a reading to introduce the Mourner's Kaddish. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world. In each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life, now ended, brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. This Shabbat, we remember one for whom we are in the Shloshim, 30-day period of mourning, Carl Nam, member of Temple Emeth and husband of Adrian Nam. And we remember those whose yard sites occurred this week: Edith Arams, Lillian Bayer, Herbert Besson, Evelyn Blattman, Shirley Bloom, Harry Bloomfield, Nancy Boonen, Enid Broder, Albert Brownstein, Francis Burroughs, Leo Burroughs, Dorothy Carben, Alan Ross Dillon, Elise Beth Dubno, Solomon Z. Furziger, Lillian Freed, Elsie Gerber, Anna Gordon, Herman Hahn, Alan Hecht, Max Heischober, Marvin Hopman, Max Ignal, Vera Kosakoff, Erwin Kramer, Michael Kramer, Edith Lee, Louis Lenny, Albert Levine, Emma Levy, Ida Levy, Sylvia Sue Liberman, Charles Richard Mayer, Gussie Mandelkern, Edith May, Sherwood Bradford Menkes, Meyer Millman, Jim Nagin, Masao Nia, Roberto Pires, Suzanne Purcell, Bernice B. Robinson, Sally Rosenberg, Zalman Schatzberg, Elaine Siebert, Celia Siegel, Blanche Smolin, Anna Solomon, Molly Tanner, Reuben Wasserman, Elizabeth Watson. We remember as well the names of 6 of the 6 million who perished in the Holocaust: Chaim Volkun of Poland, age 13, Yentl Volkun of Poland, age 11, Herschel Volkun of Poland, age 13, Sarah Volkun of Poland, age 15, Moshe Volman of the Soviet Union, age 17, and Boris Wolfovich of the Soviet Union, age 12. And remember those who lost their lives this week in the plane and helicopter crash in Washington, D.C. We remember them all. We take them into our hearts with our own as we turn at this time to page 598. Please rise if you are able, as together as a community we recite the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitzgadal v'yitzgadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'yizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mivorach le'olam olamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitzpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitznaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha berechu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, please be seated. It is my pleasure at this time to call upon Robert Kahn, a member of our Board of Trustees, to offer Shabbat greetings and announcements. But I have to find your scripts with the greetings and or the announcements. There we go. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, it's my pleasure to welcome you to our Shabbat morning service. Join us next Friday, February 7th at 8 p.m. as the Viewpoints Committee sponsors a Shabbat service in honor of Jewish Disabilities Awareness, Acceptance, and Inclusion Month. Guest speaker, Rabbi Rebecca Einstein-Shore, will share her personal experiences and heartfelt reflections about life with her son, offering a unique perspective on love, resilience, and understanding. Also next weekend, Temple Emeth is pleased to host our annual One Book, One Synagogue Shabbaton on Saturday, February 8th. This day of study, prayer, and food will focus on the themes of Kantika by Elizabeth Graver. Rabbi Serbiu will lead a text study starting at 9 a.m., followed by Shabbat services at 10:30 a.m. A festive and free lunch follows at noon, and at 12:45 we'll watch a documentary film about a Turkish Sephardic family. Please register by Tuesday, February 4th. On Saturday, February 15th at 10:30 a.m., Cantor Tillum will lead a Shabbat morning healing service. The service features special readings and music to help guide us through life's challenges. On Friday, February 21st at 8 p.m., the Social Action Committee will again sponsor Highest Refugee Shabbat. Our speaker will be Meryl Zach, the Chief Global Community Engagement Officer of Highest and Executive Director, Highest New York. Cole Emmett will sing at the service, and Carol Shansky will share her talent on the flute, recognizing the contributions of refugee composers. Temple Emeth is pleased to welcome the author of our One Book, One Synagogue selection, Elizabeth Graver, for a special Zoom-only presentation with Q&A on Tuesday, February 25th at 7:45 p.m. Watch for the Zoom link in your weekly email. This year's Gilda and Robert Boyd Glaser concert will take place on Sunday, March 2nd at 2 p.m. The concert, titled Jewish Legacy, features classical saxophonist Paul Cohen. For more information, see flyers in the lobby or contact Carol Shansky. Once again, Temple Emeth is collecting clothing and other items for Midnight Run. For a full list of needed items, please check the weekly email or see the flyers in the lobby. Donations can be dropped off whenever the building is open. Finally, this year's Shalach Manot campaign is underway. Information on how to place your order is in your weekly email and on the Temple Emeth website. Order forms are also in the lobby. Please reach out to Shel Grossman with any questions. Thank you to this morning's volunteers in the live stream control room. Barbara Balkin and Rachel Eastman are at the controls. No, obviously not. Well, somebody's in the control room.
It's Pauline Hecht.
Pauline Hecht. If you're new to Temple Emeth or looking to get more involved, please see me after services, and I'll be happy to tell you more about our congregation and our activities. Shabbat Shalom.
So in just a second, we will conclude our service with Kiddush and Motzi, and then it'll be my pleasure to introduce Florette Koffler, who needs no introduction to this congregation, but I think you'll be curious to know some of her background that leads us to her topic today. And then Florette will speak, and we will conclude our time in the sanctuary at the very end with a closing song. So, with that said, please rise for the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
L'chaim.
Chaim.
And we join together in the Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz, v'te'avon.
Okay, well, but Te'avon, I'll have a symbolic piece of challah for everybody, and then I'll place it in the hallway. You can all have a bite on your way out of the sanctuary. You may be seated. Let me just clear this out of the way so I can give Florette room to set up here. The book Cantica is a fictionalized account of author Elizabeth Graver's grandmother's journey. While the details may be fiction, it takes place in the very real milieu of Sephardic Judaism of Turkey and Spain in the first half of the 20th century. To help us gain a deeper appreciation of Sephardic Jewish history, which is the background of these characters and a large segment of the world's Jews, I am pleased that Temple member Florette Koffler has offered to share her expertise with us today. Florette M. Rechnitz-Koffler earned her Ph.D. in 1978 from the University of Pennsylvania, Department of Romance, Languages, and Literatures, with a focus on medieval and Renaissance studies. She's taught all levels of Spanish and Italian and upper-level courses on Cervantes, Lope de Vega, Dante, Boccaccio, and more. After stints at Wesleyan and the Library of Congress, Florette relocated to the New York, New Jersey area and found an interest in human rights work, and for 3 years was program director for the Soros Open Society Fund, administering grants for dissidents from China, Chile, South Africa, Poland, Hungary, and Romania. She returned to teaching at St. Thomas Aquinas College and retired as Professor Emerita in 2013. Dr. Koffler is co-editor of Uncertain Refuge, Italy and the Jews During the Holocaust. Perhaps most important to us at Temple Emeth is that Florette is a regular participant in Torah study and Lunch and Learn, and when the temple took a trip to Spain in 2014, Florette wrote a letter stating that we were a scholarly group worthy of entrance to the famous El Escorial Monastery and Library northwest of Madrid. And because of her letter, we got in and had a really great tour that day. To speak on Longing for Sfarad, Why the Jews of Spain Matter, as part of our One Book, One Synagogue initiative, it is my pleasure to call upon Florette Koffler. Okay, and let's turn the microphone on right now. So I'm just going to make sure it's on. And we have this.
Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom. We all belong to the larger Jewish family. This late morning or early afternoon, whatever it is, without setting aside our pride in the Ashkenazi background of Eastern and East Central Europe, I'd like us to just glance at the Jewish heritage of Spain, or Iberia, if you will, in basic terms of history, culture, and language. The story of the people who lived in Sepharad, the Hebrew name for Spain, who had to leave it in yet another fateful exile, and of their descendants, merits interest and attention. It's a story enveloped in layers of memory. Indeed, it's about memory, even the memory of absence, that we can talk about. Let's recall an interesting moment in time. It is summer in Palos de la Frontera, not far from Seville, when Cristobal Colon and his sailors on the 3 caravels set sail for what the admiral wrongly but stubbornly believed to be the Indies, and according to some accounts, even hoped to reach Jerusalem. On his side, we meet a recently converted Jew, a converso, Luis de Torres, a man who was fluent not only in the Spanish of that time, but also in Hebrew and Arabic. The year is, of course, 1492, when the Catholic monarchs Isabel of Castile and Ferdinand of Aragon had unified the nation with the conquest of the Muslim Emirate of Granada and envisioned the new territories as part of a Catholic nation. National unity for them meant not only territorial unity, but absolute unity of religion as well. So, at the prompting of the Spanish Inquisitional forces, despite entreaties from some close aides, the 2 monarchs ordered the implementation of the Edict of Expulsion of practicing Jews and of the new Christians, or conversos, or crypto-Jews, suspected of practicing Judaism in secret. The alternative was conversion to Catholicism in earnest, and the penalty for failure to convert was instant death. By that time, for over a century, the madness of the mobs, angry at the Jewish presence in a country that became increasingly Christian and at what they perceived to be the power of many new Christians, had erupted in the streets of Spanish towns, notably a horrific assault against the Jews of Seville in 1391. The edict gave the would-be exiles 4 months to prepare their departure, including leaving possessions, notably gold and silver, and for some, even land. But a few days were added to the deadline, so the actual day of exile, August the 2nd, ended up coinciding with Tisha B'Av, the commemoration of the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. A third exile then befell some of the world's Jews. Their history was to continue, however, outside of their beloved Sepharad, the place that for centuries before equaled to many of them the majesty of the hoped-for Jerusalem. A puzzling question remains. How is it possible that despite torture, brutality, forced conversions, dispossession of material goods, how is it possible that these dispersed people, A large majority through the lands of North Africa and the Eastern Mediterranean maintain their continuous recollection, longing, and love for Sepharad, love expressed through the use of the language of 15th century Spain and through the preservation of a rich body of poetry, some lyrical, and also orally transmitted songs and ballads that have circulated through generations up until our own time. Miraculously, these were collected relatively recently, starting in the 19th century through the care, a labor of love, and even obsession of a number of scholars, many of them non-Jewish. The apocalyptic year 1492 then divides the history we are looking at. Let's glance at, as well at the pre-expulsion period. Jewish people had been living in Iberia from the time of the Romans, who called it Hispania, or even earlier than that. They had come west on trade routes with Syrians and Phoenicians, or seeking refuge and survival from upheaval in the Near East. In Hispania Romana, they practiced their trades. They worked as craftsmen, administrators, and physicians. After the Romans succumbed to the Visigothic conquerors, most of the Jews stayed, adjusting to the new majority. The population became ethnically mixed between most of the Roman colonists and the Visigoths, and was largely Christianized by the 5th century, except for the Jews. The majority of the Visigoths and Romans were good at cultivating the land and waging war, and the Jews were useful in commerce and administrative tasks. They already were proving themselves in intellectual pursuits. There are many legends surrounding the arrival of the Berbers or Moors, Muslims from the North African Maghreb, but also documentation concerning the defeat of the last Visigothic king, Roderick, and the Arabs taking over the peninsula in 711, thereby establishing Al-Andalus, Muslim Spain, which at its height encompassed not only the south, Andalusia, but reached all the way to Aragon, Leon, Navarra, and Catalonia. The Jews had been subjects of the Visigoths and continued as subjects of the Arab Moorish conquerors, who arrived in various waves of invasion. Officially, the Jews of Al-Andalus were a tolerated minority. Some accounts speak of the Jewish population as welcoming the invaders, with whom there also arrived quite a number of Jews from northern Africa. The push for the reconquest of the peninsula, for the Christendom, La Reconquista, began almost immediately, originating from the north, from the Cantabrian region. The reconquest was a lengthy, bloody war full of conflicts among various Christian noble families, and it forged national myths, such as those surrounding the medieval historical hero, the Cid, who is remembered not only in the famous epic, but also in many ballad songs, some of them preserved in the Judeo-Spanish folk tradition. For several centuries, especially between the 10th and the 12th, we can speak of an interesting, unique society made up of Christians, Muslims, and Jews. This is the period of living together, or convivencia, during which tolerated Jews and Christians essentially thrived in Al-Andalus, all groups giving and producing the best that they could. It's in fact the period of the Caliphate of Cordoba, which would last until the mid-13th century. The Moors were the engineers, the architects. They helped to build luxurious and admired structures. The Jewish communities flourished from Cordoba, Seville, Granada, Lucena, known as the City of Jews, and their surroundings, all the way to Toledo, Saragossa, Tarragona, and Gerona. Toledo and Gerona, by the way, were the birthplaces of the study of the Kabbalah. Arab groups arrived in waves, and their own internal wars would, of course, end up weakening the various emirates. The Jews served as financiers and counselors to the Muslim rulers of Spain, worked as physicians, and some, as you know, produced lasting works of philosophy, poetry, the 14 volumes of the Mishneh Torah, not only Moses ben Maimon, but also Samuel Hanagid, a poet and warrior who rose to become vizier to the Emir of Granada in the 10th century. We should also mention two masters of the Hebrew lyric, Solomon ibn Gabirol and Yehuda Halevi. Both poets, by the way, wrote verses in Hebrew and Arabic as well. During the middle of the 13th century, at the royal court of Toledo, King Alfonso X, the sage, assembled a large school of translators, many of them Jewish, in order to transmit to the West the works of Greek, Latin, and Arab scholarship. It was an endeavor that allowed the unschooled West to receive the fruits of scholarship that would help forge the renaissance of classical knowledge a century later. As an aside, you might have been in Toledo or will go there, and then you might visit the former synagogues, one Santa Maria la Blanca and the Tránsito synagogue, which is now a known museum. You'll notice the floors, which are made of sand. It's said that this feature was not just a reminder of the Middle East sands, but was used by the crypto-Jews. We hear them also referred to as anusim, the Hebrew word for forced converts, apostates to some, who prayed as Jews in secret, not only in their homes, but furtively in the synagogue. The sand, of course, would muffle the noise of their shoes. Incidentally, as you probably know, a Spaniard of today or a person of Spanish origin anywhere in Latin America has in him or in her a veritable mixture of ethnicities and extinguished face. After 1492, after the expulsion, during much of the 16th century, Spain, or at least its upper classes, enjoyed and attempted to enjoy the riches afforded by the conquest of the New World. Artistically, there began a period known as a Golden Age, which lasted well into the 17th century. And some representative names of that remarkable era were no doubt, absolutely, names of former conversos. But administrating those riches was another matter. Inefficiency, corruption led to political and economic chaos and collapse during the 17th century. And men of letters confessed desengaño, disenchantment, and wrote of their desdoblamiento, a term that means being torn, cut in half, almost echoing the feelings of the double lives of the former conversos. The break in power in the face of competition from England and the Low Countries, the economic ruin were accompanied by a relentless pursuit and denunciation of those lacking in limpieza de sangre, cleanliness of blood, the new Christians. One cannot minimize the contribution of descendants of the conversos during those times to the Spanish cultural patrimony. Incidentally, you, of course, have heard the term marrano, deprecating, disparaging epithet that used to refer to the falsely converted Jews. It didn't refer to the pork diet of those who wished to appear true Catholics. In fact, it simply showed disrespect towards people deemed subhuman. We can recall the treasure of Spanish poetry. Chief among its representatives, Fray Luis de León, definitely a descendant of conversos, a Neoplatonist rector and professor of theology and Hebrew at the famous University of Salamanca. The influence of Hebrew biblical texts is evident also in the most exalted poetic achievements of the latter 16th century, so the verses of St. John of the Cross, who took the essence of the Song of Songs, the Canticles, as a primary source for his mystical rendition of the soul searching for God in his spiritual canticle. Although there has been some debate among serious scholars, there is a pervasive view that the expulsion of the Spanish Jews dealt a serious blow to the economy and world standing of the country that became an empire which it could not rule efficiently. The most respected such view regarding the loss of the Jewish talent, a tenet in interpreting modern Spanish history, belongs to the cultural historian Americo Castro, a great scholar among whose works the monumental De la Edad Conflictiva on the Age of Conflict, published in the early 20th century, contains the view that is still prevailing today. Castro's pupil, Samuel Armistead, the dean of the Judeo-Spanish study of balladry, was my mentor. By the way, Miguel de Cervantes, the injured Christian soldier, the prisoner of North African pirates, the creator of the first modern novel, cleverly rebuked the purity of blood obsession in several and accomplished comical plays. The Quixote itself, the book, is proof of the great master's visionary understanding of his country's history. The episode of the book burning at the beginning of the novel's first part is a send-off on the cruelty of the autos da fe, the burning at the stake. And throughout the novel, the knight and his sidekick Sancho often manage to elude and satirize pursuing members of the Holy Fraternity, the dreaded Inquisition. The Jews of Spain who left for exile in their diaspora ended up on different shores, and so had different destinies. Not a small number reached the Americas, accompanying the various navigators. Some stayed in place there, while others sought fortunes by moving to different locales on the American continent. A number of the initial exiles went to Portugal, where they reached safety for a few years, and of those, many were summarily converted to Christianity by an act of Joao II, while the others were expelled in 1497. Among those expelled, many reached northern Europe, chiefly the Low Countries, where they established themselves in northern port cities like Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and Antwerp. And of course, many left for those parts of the Americas that the Dutch colonized. For instance, a good number of Jews retreated to the Dutch Antilles, places such as Curaçao, which is a site of the earliest synagogue in the New World. We must remember that most of those refugees who went to Northern Europe did not purposely preserve the language of Sepharad. Yet the preservation of the language that nurtured the Jews of Spain for centuries is a distinguishing feature of those exiles who took a different route, either settling in the Maghreb, chiefly in Morocco, or in Algeria, Tunisia, and in of course, the Eastern Mediterranean. And of course, in the Near East, there lived continuously a number of Mizrahi Jews. It's estimated that between 180,000 and 800,000 Jews from Iberia, no, this is rather vague because the scholars lack on an exact figure, left their homes of this latest exile in 1492 after refusing conversion. When news of the edict of expulsion reached Sultan Bayezid II in Constantinople, whose Ottoman Empire already extended over much of the Balkan Peninsula and the Near East, beyond Turkey, he made a quick decision to welcome all exiled Jews to Ottoman lands, and he even sent a navy to rescue them. So it was there that many Jews ended up living. Yes, they were tolerated and did not enjoy full rights, but they were nevertheless able to build fairly or truly good lives in such places as Izmir, Bursa, Constantinople, later Istanbul, of course, in present-day Turkey. Throughout the Balkans, in Bosnia and in Greece, establishing themselves fully in Salonika, known as a Spanish Jewish city, and Sarajevo, the island of Rhodes, and many smaller places. And speaking of Istanbul, the family that we encounter in Elizabeth Graver's novel that we'll discuss next weekend flourished for a long time there. Today, there are about, I guess, approximately 14,000 Jews in Istanbul. Before 1948, before the establishment of the State of Israel, there were probably about 100,000 Jews. If you visit, you learn that Jewish life does exist in Istanbul today, and even flourishes there, in areas such as Balat, attending the Neve Shalom synagogue and several other synagogues which are open and, alive today. And you can visit Jewish shops, kosher grocery stores. Also in an area called Galata Karakoy, there is a Jewish museum that is, frequently visited. Of course, you know that before, the expulsion that we are talking about, before the Spanish or Iberian Jews got there, there were Jews in those areas. There were sort of native Jews. Some of them were called the Romaniot Jews. they spoke Greek, by the way. Um, well, it's as so going a little quicker here. It's at this very point that astonishment takes over. The fate of the Sephardim within the Ottoman Empire cannot be compared with anything that happened elsewhere, whether in Western Europe or the Pale of Settlement. The Jews of Spain brought with them talent and spirit, but they also brought the language they considered theirs, the Spanish of the 15th century that they carried into the Maghreb as well. Certainly, they learned Turkish or Greek, but within the family and for many normal quotidian activities, Spanish was maintained and remained their chief communication tool among themselves. Many prospered in commerce and the professions. They built synagogues and schools. They served in the administration of the Sultanate, even as ambassadors. Some worked as physicians and dentists. They started publications and founded newspapers and journals and established aid societies. Some carried the Kabbalistic mysticism of Toledo and Gerona all the way to Tzfat, Safed in Palestine. If language is said to define a people, that notion applies fully to the Sephardic Jews who left the peninsula and to their descendants, for they preserved the language of their ancestors and of Sepharad in song and also in story. Of course, their 15th century Spanish became modified over time, enriched with changes due to surrounding influences, and that is why we refer to Ladino, Judesmo, Spaniolit, Haketia, Judeo-Spanish. The longing of my title today refers to the memory of a once beloved place and fully to the language preserved by the Spanish Jews in their Maghreb or Ottoman diaspora. It was a language that they and their descendants used in common daily living for centuries, up to our own age, the language that connected them to the land, the homeland, Sepharad, which they kept in their memories, not unlike the memory of Jerusalem that haunts Jewish people even today. Spain was a homeland that, despite great suffering, nurtured their spirit, enriched their passion for learning, and allowed their talents to expand. Thank you.
Before you leave, tell us about the illustration. So I
yes.
asked Florette to bring a few visual aids to sort of give us just a little picture visually, since we have the screen here on live stream. And so I'm going to ask our live stream booth volunteers to put up image number 1. And once we can see it, there it is, and also on the screen mix, so folks there it is. So tell us about this image here.
Actually, this is a cover of one of many books that I have at home. It's a collection of Judeo-Spanish ballads. They were not collected originally in New York, but they were assembled from a number of different sources. And it's a very lovely little book with a lot of information about the sources and the language of those poems.
And now you volunteered to sing a song for us next week, right?
I could do it today if you want.
Well, no, I think that will be anticipation. They'll come back next week. And is the song you're going to sing out of this book?
No, it's not. Those are relatively, those are not ballads. The ones that I have in mind that I can't get out of my head, actually. They're short Ladino songs.
So there's a free lunch next week, and you have to sign up by Tuesday, and then part of the appeal is that Florette is going to serenade us with a Sephardic song over lunch. So look forward to that. Let's go to the second image that she brought for us. Okay, tell us about this one.
This is an image from a collection that actually, it's not in good shape. It has to do with a burial plot of a man who didn't start as a collector of ballads, Judeo-Spanish ballads, but became one of the best. His name was Jacob Avraham Yonah. I have this huge book of his ballads that was actually put together by my professor, and it is really essentially a sort of a memory of what this man actually did at the very beginning of the 20th century. He collected thousands of ballots from Spanish, old Spanish speakers mostly in Salonika.
Okay, and we have one last image, so we'll wait for them to cue that up. That should only take a second for our final image. Oops, we need it back on Stream Mix. There it is. So tell us about this one.
This image is from a book that recalls what happened to Dina. Dina, as you remember, you say Dinah, I guess. She was the only daughter of Jacob and Leah, the only daughter. And, the story in Genesis, obviously she was abducted, she was raped. Two of her brothers, if you remember the story, if I remember the story, actually did not acquiesce to the idea of having her marry one of the, perpetrators. So they actually murdered him. And anyway, there are all kinds of adventures that come out of there. And that's just an illustration that comes in a collection of ballads collected also in somewhere in Greece, I think. Okay.
Great. So a nice preview to the future discussions that we're going to have on Cantica, including next Saturday for our One Book, One Synagogue Shabbaton, and on Tuesday night, February 25th on Zoom when we discuss with the author. So please join me once again in thanking Florette Koffler. Thank you also to Rabbi Rebecca Einstein-Shore for serving as our cantorial soloist today. And Rabbi Shore has picked a closing song, which is here in the notes, if only they're in front of me. Our closing song is Maya Fe Hayom, which is found in the Siddur on page 634.
Maya Fe Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Fe Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
We've reached the end of our service. If you've been watching on live stream, it's your last chance to post something in the chat or comment section of the live stream platform. Perhaps you learned something new about the Jews of Sfarad that you would like to post about before we conclude our service, or maybe you just want to post the same words that we in the sanctuary will offer to one another. As we conclude our service, we turn to one another and say, Shabbat Shalom.